Since the dawn of time, the Nile has flowed, calm, eternal, and wise. For more than 7 millennia, its waters have nourished one of humanity's greatest civilizations. But the story of the Nile is more than a story of water. It is the story of life, faith, and endurance. Greater than from the highlands of East Africa to the shores of the Mediterranean, the Nile carved a path through both land and history, shaping Egypt and in many ways, shaping us all. Greater than. The Nile begins far to the south, born from the rains of the Ethiopian highlands and the lakes of Central Africa. Two great rivers meet in Sudan, the Blue Nile and the White Nile. Together they become the artery of Egypt, a river stretching over 6,600 kilometers. Greater than. As the river flows north, it brings not only water, but soil, minerals, and life. Every year the Nile floods, spreading dark silt across the valley, a natural fertilizer that turned desert into paradise. Greater than. To ancient eyes, this was a miracle. To modern science, it was the perfect harmony of geology and climate. Greater than. Long before the pyramids, before even the pharaohs, small communities gathered by the Nile's edge. They learned to plant seeds in the rich soil left after each flood. Greater than. Here, humanity made one of its greatest discoveries, agriculture. Greater than. They grew wheat, barley, and flax. They domesticated animals. Villages turned into towns, and a new rhythm of life began, the rhythm of the river. Greater than. The Nile didn't just feed their bodies, it shaped their minds. They learned to measure time by its floods, to predict its rise and fall, and thus the world's first solar calendar was born. Greater than. For the ancient Egyptians, the Nile was divine. They believed its waters flowed from the realm of the gods. Greater than. The god Hapi embodied the river's abundance. Each year, when the floods arrived, people celebrated in festivals of joy and gratitude. But the Nile also held mystery and fear. When the floods failed, famine followed. This delicate balance between blessing and disaster gave birth to the Egyptian idea of Ma'at, order, harmony, and balance. Greater than. To keep this order, the pharaoh ruled not just as a king, but as a bridge between gods and people, ensuring that the river of life would never cease to flow. Greater than. Along the Nile's long path, two worlds emerged, Upper Egypt in the south and Lower Egypt in the north. For centuries, they thrived apart, each with its own customs and leaders. Greater than. Then, around 3100 BC, a great unifier arose, King Narmer, known also as Menes. He conquered the north, joined the two lands, and founded the first dynasty of Egypt. Greater than. The Nile, once a line that divided, became a force that united. Trade flourished from Nubia to the Mediterranean. The world's first nation was born, bound together by one river and one destiny. Thousands of years have passed, yet the Nile still flows, serene and eternal. It has seen empires rise and fall, temples crumble and people change, but its spirit endures. Greater than. To this day, it remains Egypt's lifeline, a silent witness to humanity's journey. Greater than. The Nile was not just the source of life, it was and still is the soul of civilization.